I'm going to be futuristic, and I want to tap into your power of clairvoyance and your travels. You've seen different cultures, different societies, different people, different places. I'm sure you're one of the most traveled persons in Nigeria, apart from traders. You've been to, you've been to different parts of the world. Now, what do you think culturally, in terms of influence, the Paris Confraternity should be looking at? In other words, in its force we have against tribalism, against nepotism, and all of that, which I think was informed by the milieu where it existed. Is the Paris, if the Paris Confraternity is to be formed in Abu Dhabi today, and you have mostly Arabs, will they be talking against tribalism, or what would they be talking about? Those are futuristic evolution I'm talking about. Will a New Yorker in New York be talking about against tribalism?
Well, you know, the first thing I have to say is that nobody would believe that I didn't know the line this evening would take, the discussion. I didn't even know who was supposed to be interlocuting with me this evening until I think I opened my message box yesterday, and I found it was Labish Olu Ajayi. The reason I point this out is that you have asked a question which can take over this entire session tomorrow, the entire week, the entire month. It's like you zoomed in straight on my preoccupations, things I've been thinking about, what PC should be doing, technology, the abuse of technology. Oh, that reminds me. Before we move even further, I spoke earlier about having mastered all the technology and all that, but the first part of your introduction this evening, I missed the first 5 to 7 minutes or so before I could adjust everything. So let me declare straight away here that I'm not responsible for anything you said about me this evening. It's you who said it all. I haven't made any claims. I don't want to see on this thing called social media tomorrow that Wole Soyinka made certain academic claims which he never. You know, we still have children of Sonny Abacha, his offspring, his legacy around. And they're still pushing the same garbage which he and his propagandists spread around the whole world and in the nation especially when we were fighting him literally to the end. Things which I thought everybody had dismissed as garbage have been surfacing. Wole Soyinka is now supposed to have fraudulently claimed certain academic claims, things like, I never even bothered in my life about things like that, concentrating purely on my creativity. However, Wole Soyinka, to their own dimension and specifications, has been ongoing, created by the internet mob in the last few weeks. So whatever you said, it's you who said it, until you hear it from my mouth or under my signature, it's probably part of Abacha's biography created by his goons, his lackeys, his surrogate murderers, so character and humanity, everything else. Let me use that opportunity. Now, we spoke, this also is an important subject, technology, because I raised it actually in Cairo recently, and I spoke about the marvel of technology, the real marvel of technology, the fact that I'm able to sit here in my small apartment here at the university and have a conversation with you. Who on earth can object to that? However, I said in Cairo that a new breed of monsters, of reprobates, have taken control, and I wish to repeat it Because I've learned that this again has created, as usual, a furore. We're speaking about technology being used for identity theft, in which one wakes up, one sees one's image on the screen, and one sees attributions of things one has never said, even thought in one's life. And that already goes round the entire globe within seconds. This is the Frankenstein called technology, which is so grossly abused in many societies. And I repeat yet again, most notoriously and nauseously by that nation space called Nigeria. Tomorrow morning, even before I finish what I'm saying now, you'll see be first to respond, and they're responding to Wole Soyinka and insulting him for telling the truth, which is perfectly okay. So when you ask me what should be the priorities of the Paris Confraternity in this modern age, I think the PC will have great fun and contribute a lot to humanity by tackling what I call, in my mind, techno-mobbery. Techno-mobbery. The travesty of dignified and truthful existence by the abuse of technology. We live in an age now, especially in that country called Nigeria, of techno-mobbery, in which just a handful of people, by creating, which is a fact, by the way, my son is very good in technology. He's been working on this for me, plus other people, of course. But I'm just saying that even if Wole Soyinka is technologically illiterate, I do have experts on this. And they've been informing me about the existence of what I call repeater stations by the techno-mobbery protagonists, in which you just give a signal, and within 5 or 10 seconds, lies are being circulated right around the globe, seemingly from all over the globe, but actually working from a bunker, a factory, underground factory, in which these lies, the fiction is spread all over the world, and it becomes an industry. Everybody reads it, sees it, believes it, because it seems to be in real life, in real time. In actual fact, it exists only in a virtual territory. Now, in the PC, we have people, as you know very well, from all walks of life. We have business people. We have some of the most unbelievable surgeons all over the world. In the States, we have scientists, technocrats, technology geniuses, some of whom work with NASA. As you know, I'm a space nut. I follow what goes on in NASA. I visit any opportunity. I visit NASA, which is the highest level for me of technological advancement, advanced magic of humanity. And I think that one of the things which the PC can do for the benefit of humanity, even for itself, is to tackle this menace of techno-mobbery with advanced repeater stations, pretending to be all over the world, but actually sitting in a wormhole where they dispense the most nauseous, abominable fiction about human beings and events. These technomobs create some of the greatest dangers to the world, and especially to Nigeria. That's one. Do you want me to pause here while you interject something? I'm going to the other concern. I don't want to be the one talking all the time. I want this to be more a discussion. But
yes, thank you.
Go move to something else. Remind me, I still have yet another issue, very critical for the PhD.
Go ahead, Prof, so that we can really make most of this in that trajectory. It's just that some of us, as a diversion, Technology is good, but some of us who are here today were looking forward to have a feel the scent and smell of Professor Soyinka within our space. But unfortunately, I guess you were, for one reason or the other, you're unable to be present here physically. So those are the disadvantages of technology. It removes the spiritual connection, the magic of presence from conversations and communication. So you can go ahead still to further enlighten us on this futuristic aspect of the Paris Confraternity, your vision in terms of deploying technology, having cells of pirate develop apps or patented what can I say, applications and all of that.
See what it's saying. Can you send it to me?
Did you hear this?
Can you send it to me? But I didn't recording it.
Hello. Did you hear me?
Sorry, somebody who's speaking, there's a lot of echo by the time your voice reaches here. So could you repeat more clearly what you just said?
Okay. I said, first, try to, on behalf, apologize that we're not here because there are a lot of people who were looking forward to seeing you in person, get a feel and the scent and smell of Professor Soyinka in our environment here. So, well, that didn't happen, but still we're able to communicate with you. And that's one of those sides of technology. So going forward, I'm saying, how do we do this or create these cells where pirates will deploy their intellectual property, their knowledge and creativity, using technology to provide solutions to international human challenges?
Okay, I'll give you one example. Here, for instance, I'm involved in a project which is titled "Art in the Service of Climate Change." And well, the kind of climate which you have, you can see why a nation like Abu Dhabi and the Emirates, which more or less, are plagued by a semi-desert situation, which, by the way, they are confronting technologically, really transforming what seems to be a blight of nature into the most modern features of contemporary existence, technological existence. Some of it is used. I don't want to sound too idyllic about it. Some of this technology is used, of course, to create aspects of what I call a police state. Let's not be let's not be excessive about praise. There are also dangers about the use of technology. We must recognize that. But it's fascinating and chastening. Really, it's a huge rebuke to stay. No, it's not the first time I've been in this area, but it's the first time I've actually been engaged in prolonged sessions of teaching and, of course, learning. And so I've become very close to the relationship of technology in a society like this, in the relationship with the transformation, the modernization of society, and also the creation of dignity among human beings to a large extent. Once again, not saying it's a perfect situation, no. And I'm saying that there are lessons to be learned about how the petrodollars of this kind of society has been used for the technological amelioration of humanity in this society. That is why many of our people, I run away from them. They are here. They retire here to, shall we say, to enjoy life, to get away from Nigeria. But it's embarrassing to find that in many cases, they don't really think of taking home, of transferring to their own area the lessons, the advancement, the imagination, the vision that has transformed to such a marvelous extent the society in which, the environment in which they find solace, refuge from the intolerable. That's one of the lessons. But this art for climate change, to go back to that, will be touring, and you'll see the role of art in the transformation of thinking, and even in the suggestion of ideas to the scientists about climate change, about the possibilities of strategies, lateral thinking. That's what art, creativity is all about. I'm very proud to say that this exhibition, this event, for instance, in which Nigeria is participating, some of them are my own proteges, my young people whom I have encouraged and whose works are promoted in a series of the artistic festivals that we had in Lagos, like Black Heritage Festival, in which we encourage youth to create their own vision of the future, what society should be, what's wrong with society, how society can be corrected. And some of them will be participating in that, in this climate change, art for climate change event. So you can see the link between the two, that humanities is not much separate from science and technology.
Hello. Hello?
Hello, yes, can you hear me? Hello? Technology, don't let us down. I've just been praising you. What's all this nonsense? Hello, can you hear me? Let me see. Yes, I got all the bars here. We should be communicating very happily. Hello, hello. Oh dear.
It's on the Nigerian end.
Oh, yes, I can hear you suddenly. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me? Yep.
Yes, I can hear you. I want to put that in suspension for now, because as you said earlier on, it will take months if we're going to go into exploring technology and its influences, because technology also creates a new culture, which influences.
Yes, very solidly linked to culture. And listen, now, technology has just frightened me. And just in case it fails us, I'm going back to your introduction, your original question, which I said, the answer to which I said could take us for the next month, even for eternity. Listen, let me finish. How do we express it in the PC? Buckles your belly. There's one more critical item in relation to the question which you asked. I don't want technology to fail before I deliver it. So then we can go back to whatever you have on your mind. Is that agreed? It's not an order. I was asking you, is that agreeable?
I agree that it's not an order. And, we have a mosaic of people in the audience. So when we are backing our values, when we reach the values, we back it at us and much more. So please back your values. I'm not giving you an order. I'm just saying you should go ahead with what you want to say.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll take advantage of that. We spoke about technology, and also, as you know, we've been very much concerned in the PC with human rights. It's because it's technology which enabled me, for instance, staying in Lagos, to be able to find ways of communicating in a freer and more comprehensive way with some of our citizens who are illegally detained in prison. One of them I want to use as introduction to the predicament of thousands, probably thousands of our citizens in prison at the moment. I have here, I don't know if your camera can zoom on this, it doesn't matter if you cannot, but the title of this leaflet here, which I brought with me, is A Prison Letter to a President by Mubarak Bala. And it has an introduction as well as a poem by Wole Soyinka. And this letter should have been delivered. It was written in June, smuggled out of prison, Kuje prison, And we printed copies of this. It was printed in June, but for reasons of my own personal political position vis-a-vis all the nonsense we've been going through the 2023 election, I didn't immediately deliver it because I just wanted the elections out of the way with the final decision by Supreme Court. That's, by the way, that's one also can take us another month discussion, but let's concentrate on Mubarak Bala. This young man, and we spoke about freedom of expression, which has been enabled by technology, the technology which has enabled transformation across the world, including, as I mentioned in Cairo, the so-called Arab Spring. So, because of this, thanks to this technology, I was able to get a copy of this letter, smuggled out, a prison letter to President Mubarak Bala. And in my introduction, I mentioned here that this young man, who declares himself an atheist, has been in prison for now pushing 2.5 to 3 years, imprisoned by a set of laws in a section of the country, laws which are not recognized or legitimized by the Constitution. In other words, we now have in Nigeria, and we've had for some time, of course, decrying this, different sets of criminality. I don't know when in Nigeria the Constitution said that atheism is criminal and can justify the imprisonment of an individual simply for expressing views on spirituality, on religion, whether in blog, whether on radio, whether in printed form. This is an abuse of power. And any president, any head of state who can lay claim to a constitutional authorization of his or her power and who permits this gross abuse within its jurisdiction is not living up to the mandate conferred upon him or her by any means, democratic, autocratic, dictatorial, it doesn't matter in the least. There's a responsibility to humanity and to society. The longer that this young man stays in prison, the greater the ignominy with which this nation is regarded all over the world. And there's only one solution to this, and this is a presidential authority for the release of this young man, and also the trial of those who put him in prison, including medical doctors who certified him as being insane, simply because he has declared the possibility of human existence outside a belief in a religion. So in case this letter has not reached the president through the channels, I'm presenting it here. And I'm saying that for any organization which is really looking for a meaningful, worthwhile cause for its very existence, for its origination, the vision of a group of young people over 50 years, I think nearly 60 years ago, I believe now, any group really looking for a mission is to dedicate its time to the predicament of people like this. Mubarak Bala is not alone. It's about time that the PC moved from beautiful rhetoric, generalized, however, mostly generalized. I'm not decrying, underestimating what the PC is achieving right now, but I'm talking about very urgent needs which speak to our very humanity that led to the creation of the Paris Confraternity. So that's it. Two things which forced me to Bacchus my Belus.
Yes, thank you very much. You talked
Technology, the other, human rights, as represented by Mubarak Bala.
Okay, great. Thank you for your time, Prof. And we can see that probably, when it comes to human rights violation, Prof, from the expression of his face, you can easily know that, he's really vexed when it comes to those issues. But I wouldn't want you to, I will take you on a very different terrain now to relax, because, the next bus stop now is 90, and it's going to look like we're still around our grandfather having an evening conversation. So I think we should leave, we're not leaving it totally, but it's worth recognizing. Now, there are a lot of people who are still wondering how your literary works, because the way you churn out those materials, the only person I can recall was always publishing almost every month was James Hadley Chase in those days, where copies come out every new edition. But how do you manage? Because I remember you on a flight in one of your interviews, how you were able to take notes, and you don't really assign time to write it as they come or as it comes. You take notes. Can you shed some light on that so that the young writers, those who are really here, will know that you don't force it, you allow it to come? Are you a professional writer, or you write on inspiration or out of inspiration?
I think the first comment I have to make, the first revelation is the wrong word. Let me just say, I want to urge would-be writers to look around them more closely, and they will find that there is no shortage of inspiration that leads to meaningful, worthwhile, entertaining, instructive, puzzling, and even instigating a writer. Just look over the window, through the window any day, and before you stood in one spot for about 15 days, you will see, now look with your mind in a way you have not looked before, and you'll be astonished how much material or literary interrogation, let's put it that way, let's begin there, interrogation, leading, of course, your own personal expression, the imposition of your own internal set of values, which lead, of course, to a kind of dialogue between that internal assessment of phenomena and the phenomenon itself. That's, for me, where to begin, that you look with a new eye on what seems to be commonplace, mundane around you. And you'll be astonished how you really want to interrogate that seeming actuality. See what really lies beneath it. See what led up to it. Think what might lead from it. That's a real beginning of literary productivity. And that includes, incidentally, even stories which are narrated to you, because that question takes me back to my own childhood, when, as many of us in our society have experienced, stories are told by adults. And I found myself, because when stories are told to you, that is another level of reality. And you enter into those characters, you let those characters enter into you, and you find along the way, you are questioning the direction of that narrative. When you find you're beginning to question it, beginning to think that, oh, couldn't have gone another way, you are already beginning to be a writer. And I used to quarrel with my siblings, because then, of course, children would get together to retell the stories told by adults. And they would say, oh, no, but it didn't go that way. No, that isn't what Uncle said. And I would say, well, I'm sorry, that's the way I saw it. That's the way I think that character should have gone. And I would tell that story my own way. That is another stage of development. That's another dialogue between one form of reality and a reimagining of that reality. Finally, young writers, oh yeah, you asked me where do I find manager. I'll talk about that in a moment. Finally, however, always be prepared to collect your rejection slips. When you write because you want to communicate something to other people. Well, you need a medium for that. That medium is the publisher. Whether it's a literary journal, whether it's the poetry page of the newspaper, whether it's a short story page, whether it's an essay page, it doesn't matter in the slightest. There's an intermediary. And that intermediary very often is not there to promote your genius. If it's a publisher, it's there to make money. Some publishers are more altruistic than others. Yes, that's true. And lucky is that writer who encounters that kind of publisher for the first time. But you must not go around saying, as, for instance, my generation encountered, when's the first generation getting us published? No, it's not their business to get you published. I'm afraid it's in the hands of the publisher. And you've got to be stoical. You've got to think of the possibility that those people you're talking about also collected their own rejection slips. What did they do? Did they stop writing? Well, maybe some did. But the rest of us took our rejection slip, opened the drawer, shoved it inside, put it there, and continued writing. That's how.
I wouldn't want to dwell on that too much, but I remember some people haven't experienced what you've said. Their scripts were rejected, decided to do what we call self-publishing. I remember one SMO Aka in those days who published My Father's Car. You know, he was publishing his own works by himself.
Yes, self-publishing is a problematic issue because why should not, if you have the capacity to, why should not, you know, what's basically wrong with publishing yourself? However, publishing is, writing is a social activity. It's not a private activity. Even poetry, you know, which is, I suppose, the most internalized form of literary exercise. Even poetry is a socialized activity because in the end, even if it's to recite a line or two to a friend or something, you want to communicate that material. So you cannot do without the test of something, a kind of judgment external to yourself. You can disagree, and you should, if you have confidence in yourself, you can disagree in aspects of that medium's decision or opinion, but you've got to test it against something else. From school, you know that we had, I don't know whether it still exists, we used to have literary magazines in which articles, essays, short stories, poems were laboriously copied in these thick ledger books, which were then left in the reading table of the library. There was an editor. There was always an editor. Very often, the editor was the schoolmaster. But most times in progressive areas, it's an editorial board which always included the peers. In other words, other people, sometimes non-writers in the school. And you had to struggle creatively to get your magazines, your article published in those magazines. And it was a day of pride for you when your work was selected.
Great.
And incidentally, talking of essays and talking of Mubarak Bala, who was in prison for so-called atheism, one of the articles which I wrote when I was about 11 was titled Ideals of an Atheist. I'm not saying it was the most philosophical, intelligent, profound article. No, that's not the issue. But I needed to express myself, even at that age, about my doubts about the existence of a supreme deity. I needed to I was a chorister, incidentally. I was a chorister in church. I enjoyed going to church. I enjoyed the ceremony, I enjoyed the harvest seasons, I enjoyed the singing, etc., etc. But deep down inside me from childhood, I always queried the existence of God. And for me, that's not a crime. For me, that's the human in me, etc. Again, sorry to go divert that way.
Well, it's allowed. They are still back in your bellies. We do have some very important journalists and distinguished persons in our midst who have come to celebrate with us and also to take the opportunity to ask you questions. Fortunately, it's a virtual thing, so we won't be able to stress it that much. So I'm asking them to put their questions together so that we can explore more mileage and usage of time. But in the meantime, have you ever, at any point in time, looked at this nation, your childhood, when I know you go hunting, and I want to bring it on the lighter note now. Have you ever used a catapult?
Have I ever used a catapult?
Yes, for hunting.
How do you think I developed my favorite hobby, hunting? Of course, no longer with a catapult. Of course, I began with a catapult. I used to bring down the squirrel, the occasional udere cocoa. That was a favorite, which we then roasted yes. I was quite adept with a catapult.
When next you come, I'll buy you a catapult so that that will take you back into time.
Yeah, sorry. You use the catapult, I use my shotgun and rifle. Thank you very much.
So I think we want to recognize some very important dignitaries in our midst. Are you here? Some of my please stand up for recognition. Thank you so much. It's a bit. Yes, I think some of us is here from the Nation newspaper, right? Yes, it is here to ask you a question. One of our guests this evening. Please come with you so that they can see your face.
It's going to be clear now. What about you?
Yes, so that the Prof can see. You have to be careful with the wires there. Great.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Prof. This is Samamashe. Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, Samamashe.
Yes, sir.
Hey, how are you? Okay, I can also see you now. All right.
Yes, my question is very brief. I read an interview you granted, I don't know whether it was a French journalist. I can't remember clearly.
Sorry,
Anymore
repeat.
it was not for you.
Oh dear. Frozen.
I read the interview you granted recently. Can you hear me? You granted an interview recently to one foreign journalist. I believe it was a she. I think she was French. And you were saying that you were done with writing the novel because it was not for you because of some of the imposition of energies it had on you, and that you were for the drama. But the issue I want you to interrogate is the fact that you said you loved drama rather than fiction, because in drama it never comes to an end, and you can have different interpretations and so on, but in the case of the novel, it is over, except perhaps if it is showed on film. But I want you to talk about the fact that a novel can also, like drama, still go on and on and on because it lives on the imagination. Like a novel, the interpreters can be interpreted many, many ways for another centuries, except that it may not be on stage, it may be on the level of the imagination. Thank you.
All right.
Prof, did you get that?
Okay. First of all, I have enormous respect for those who've chosen the novel as their medium of expression. To wander into the novel medium for me is okay. Step in, but step out as fast as possible, because it's very laborious and very taxing. Taxing in the sense that with the novel, you know, which is prose and which is almost, which is in fact far more epical than a theater can be. You are constantly being tempted to expand even the physical horizon, just from the fact that you want to follow your characters anywhere they want to go. And sometimes they want to drag you along, even without your consent. And you have problems just keeping them in check and keeping them in a tight, manageable situation. And because a novel is basically discursive, it means that sometimes, very often, you lose thread of what your characters are doing, what they are saying. It requires a massive concentration. That's number one. Number two, with a novel, once you've finished it, that's it. If you're lucky, the film director will pick it up and then it will either mess it up or perhaps even give a totally new interpretation of what you wrote, and which then becomes illuminating even for you. But there's no compensation if you're messed up as a novelist, or you have to write another novel. In the case of theater, you can say, okay, this interpretation is a waste of time, and you forget all about it. And another time, somebody else directs it, and that may be your play. And you also, if you also have some hankering for directing, you can at least give yourself the solace of directing or misdirecting your own play. A novelist doesn't have that kind of privilege, you know, and this is one of the reasons. And for me, the theme which preoccupies me in my plays is a constant theme. Variations, of course, naturally, but I have a constant theme. And very often I feel I'm playing variations on the same theme, which means I take liberties and reinventing, recreating. No two productions of any of my plays in my life have ever been the same. And this has not been governed merely by the accessibility of actors, environment, etc. No, I always go to it like I am doing something novel. A novelist doesn't have that privilege. So it's not just a question of well, it's not just a kind of technical issue. It's not just a question of the fact that people read more novels than plays, which would then tempt one towards the novel. No, it's just the format. The format is closer to my temperament, which is one of constant recreation, constant interrogation of themes which actually bother me and which I can play with, fight with on stage.
Thank you, Prof. We'll take one or two more questions so that we can move on to the next item on the program. Any other question? Please come forward. try and make it very short so that people can comprehend what you say. But it's too late to the audio channel. So
Good afternoon. Good evening, Prof. Henry Akubiro. I'm the assistant editor of Saturday Sun Super, and also a novelist, playwright, and poet. My book, Yam Tarawala Walking, was recently shortlisted for Nigerian Prize for Literature LNG. Prof, I have been to your house. One thing caught my attention. There's a sign. There was a sign that said, all trespassing vehicles will be shot and eaten. Can you please explain to us what you mean by that? All trespassing vehicles will be shot and eaten. The first sign when somebody goes to your house. Can you please explain to us what you mean by that? Thank you, sir.
Well, did you hear that Ogun wants to?
But you know, what do you want me to say? You come to your home, your retreat, your sanctuary, and what do you find? At the time, anyway, not any longer. You find a family having a picnic, you know, on your grounds. I admire them on one hand. I admire those people for loving nature, for, you know, for sharing my own indulgences. Yes, on the one hand, and of course, I like children and seeing children playing around it. But I've come from a long journey. I've come from a series of engagements. I just want to get into my sanctuary, sink into a bottle or two, put my feet up, read, work, not host people. And they park all over the place. So I had to devise a means of frightening people without actually eating them. So the signboard says, I will eat your vehicle. It means that I'm not a cannibal. I'm not going to eat you, but I will eat your vehicle if you don't let me have my peace when I come home. That, by the way, I don't know when last you were in that area, but it's also been partnered by another sign, which is very different and which is very literal. And it says, this is when I had the attack of these cowherds who were beginning to trample over my property. I don't use fences and things. So I had to put up a notice in that trespassing cows will be tried. Did I put tried? I can't remember now. Okay. At least will be hanged. And did I put barbecued? No, that was understood. Will be
something like that.
That they'll be hanged. But then I wrote a note to the Bale, and I think to the police also and to the neighbors, that anytime such a hanging took place, they are invited to come and join me for a session of suya. So that was a definite threat. That was meant very literally. Unfortunately, since then, there's been no trespassing. Yeah.
Well, there's another question here, which has to do with the migration. I know you're really concerned about migration, you know, crossing the Mediterranean, blue, and all of that. What do you think about this Japa syndrome? I mean, that's the slang for it, Japa. People leaving the country for so many reasons. And some as bizarre as, you know, people lying that they have been tried for being gay, and then they got there and impregnated other women, and now they are no longer getting asylum. So what do you think about this Japa syndrome?
That's a very large question, very large question. It's a question that goes to responsibility, leadership responsibility. As you know, I've been involved in the whole migration issue. It's not just Nigeria we're talking about now. We're talking about our fellow beings on the African continent, drowning in the Mediterranean in droves. We're talking about those perishing in the desert. We know that a totally new phenomenon of slavery is going on, and that even Nigerians are offering themselves as slaves or else being compelled into appearing on the slave market. And I say market, well, ask special advisors to government, diaspora and migration. And you know that what I'm talking about is a real tragedy for all of us. So that's one set of Japan, which for me requires urgent, concerted action, and not the kind that is going on between Great Britain and Rwanda, which I find shocking, and which requires very serious attention. Maybe something for the pirates also to look into. But then there's the individual Japan. People just get fed up with Nigeria, see that they have no future, and they have the opportunity, they have relations on the other side, and they're looking for just a means of finding fulfillment one way or the other, which applies to everybody, by the way. But in this particular case, I'm talking about those with some skills. That's another tragedy for the nation, because we're talking about brain drain, real talented people. So on all levels, I've advocated and it's a responsibility both for the nation from which the Japan take place and the reluctant and sometimes just gracelessly accepting hosts. There should be a continuous discussion of strategies to end this reduction of our humanity, because it's we whose humanity is really diminished in this way. It's economic, we know that, but then we also know that it's a result of power tussle, of dirty politics, meaningless, selfish, egotistical politics. We know it's the result of internal wars on various levels. When you talk about internally displaced people, isn't that another form of Japan when you become a migrant in your own country? And yet you have these crazed religious extremists who decide that they want to wage war, even on their own environment. They drive people to displace people. And people, once they start being displaced, you might as well keep moving across the border. So it's a very serious issue, and it's one of leadership concern, and we must compel our leaders to come together and solve this on the many levels that are required, that are concerned.
Thank you, Prof. If there's no other, because we have to move to the next program now. You have a question? A very brief one, please. Prof, one more question, and then we'll allow you to enjoy your evening and have some wine. If they are giving you wine here, should I keep it or I take it?
Hello? Oh, sorry, was that addressed to me? Oh.
My prof, happy birthday once again. My name is Tumi Adeniki. I'm a mass comm student, but I want to confirm, where do you expect to be the next 10 years? God give you grace. Are you still writing or you want to retire?
Prof, let me have it.
Sorry, could you repeat that? I missed that.
Prof will be 90 next year. Yeah? So I think they tend to forget the next bus stop that, But if you want to answer that question, he's waiting. Did you hear him, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. But
yes.
I don't know if there's not enough time. I know we can spend the whole night here. In fact, I've reserved all night for you because I know you're having lovers, and from time to time we should indulge them. But I know you also have another item. So this is the last question. If you want to repeat it, let's go to your next item, your next event.
There's somebody online that I want him to explore technology. Could somebody is online. He wants to ask you a question. Please go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Let him go ahead. Yeah. or her.
Good morning, Professor Wole Soyinka. Good morning, Oluwajayi. I'm by name Kunle Oyadoyin. I'm calling from New Jersey. It's a privilege. It's a privilege for me to have been on this series of education section. My question is this: on the wheel of justice, in quote, to relate to National Association of CDOG, how do you stand for justice in a system where the leadership?
I can't hear anymore.
How do you stand for wheel of justice in relation to the association which we all know you stood for? You were part of the pioneer that established it, but the internet muggers, in quotes, in that same association hold on of privileges that can be ascertained to stand for justice, but rather turn into inhuman to people that stood for the same justice and have it as a privilege to stand for that same association.
So did you get that?
I don't know. I don't really understand. I mean, are you saying that in any respect you have seen the association stand for injustice? I don't understand the question. I'm not responsible for, and the association is not responsible for, but always takes steps to discipline any of its members caught in any act that can be described as injustice to another human being or indeed to society. That I can assure you.
Well,
you can assure if you interrogate. I'm sure if you interrogate the leaders of that society, they will tell you of the series of trials and disciplinary actions taken against those who have been accused, the same way as you seem to imply, of acts improper, unjust, undignified, incorrect in any ethical way. You'll find that it's not condoned by the association. But you know, this is not, and I always tell our members this, never attempt to deny that there are bad eggs within the association. There's always at least one rotten egg in any basket. You know, that's a fact of life. So you probably have encountered something nasty from a member. It is possible. But believe me, if you take that, if you let the leadership of that organization know about it, you'll be satisfied with the steps which are taken by the leadership, by the association, collectively. That I guarantee you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Prof. To further cooperate with you, are we okay now? Yeah, so we'll go to the next item, which is the play Wheels of Justice. I will hereby invite the producer, director, Dr. Awusame, please come on stage. A round of applause for him.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's event has been conceptualized as a night of shotguns. And shotguns is a metaphor for guerrilla and dramatic sketches. And one of those shotguns for tonight is Wole Soyinka's The Wheels of Justice, which for two reasons. It is the playwright's latest play, and second, it's loaded with particular anecdotes. The Wheels of Justice is specially written by Professor Soyinka for the 70th anniversary of the organization. as a testament to the confraternity's xenophobia for acts of injustice, temperament for the truth, as well as the audaciously cynical extent by which its members sometimes perform their detestation of moribund conventions using different media, especially the sing-songs. And we will sample a couple of the sing-songs in tonight's performance. The sketch dramatizes the laboriously slow pace in which the wheels of justice grinds in the Nigerian judicial environment and the human factors that are responsible for the nation's habitual occasion of delayed justice. The Wheels of Justice, an excerpt from the Nobel laureate's latest play, is classically Soyinka, deliberately trenchant, hilarious, and instructive. The Wheels of Justice derives its blind socio-political covering energy and principle from the sword dangling blindfolded Lady Justice. A standard dramatization of the second practical watchword, no friend, no foe. The sketch unifies, in this case of performance and celebration tonight, the judiciary icon, the writer, sea dogs, and all who seek justice in truth and without fear of favor. In the Wheels of Justice, not only has the author created pirates as characters and inserted them into the plot of the drama, the pirates' confraternity is also made a subject matter within the play's satirical web. The organization is contextually depicted in the play to animate and celebrate a major organizational strategy of the pirates, which is protest. The audacious satire, parody, and sarcasm contained in the Wheels of Justice are the same elements that run through the other guerrilla sketches or shotguns that feature in this evening's seed. So I welcome all of you, and I want to say that I wish that you enjoyed this evening's performance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah.
So let's enjoy.
It all started in my alma mater, campus of Nigeria's first university, Western Nigeria. 7 years ago, 10 decades ago, I helped start a committee Nigerian English soon to be there. We called ourselves the Lions, spelled deliberately.
Right.
Founded the first fraternity in Nigeria. Ours, the first in all Black Africa.
It was supposed to be from the beginning, and not to come out only the Ukrainians prefer against this aggression. We still try to consciousness with support for Ukraine, but that's the
the corner of the side. Back in 1952, we were at the only university in Nigeria modeled on the British Colonies tradition. Table dinners, revelation, coats and tie, academic gowns, all that stuff. Few of us in there, we were on convention, even theater. We call ourselves the pirates, in mind loving good. Coming together in an atmosphere of exuberance and laughter, then combined with some serious pre-independence ideas. In 1952, the University College Ibadan was the only tertiary institution of its kind in the whole of Nigeria. In those days, university education was in the exclusive reserve of two terrible wealthy who came into the university college with their ideas of petty prejudice and class privilege. At the time, University College Ibadan was affiliated to the University College London. This gave many students a bloated sense of fear. Staring in them and decided to learn all of the history. And then got admitted into the ranks of the sophisticated. The obnoxious height of this ego trip was a club called the cinema club, an habit of sophistication. The street might pride themselves. Good morning, madam. Yeah, like to ask me something yesterday. Old woman.
Well, that's trying to show you what
Whatever I could. I didn't say. What will do? I feel.
But we are right. Allow for the head. That's okay.
All right. Manage that well. Some old skill, but you manage it. Okay, madam. I'm try to be sophisticated sometimes. Yeah, so sandwich, it's a lot.
Okay. Sorry, big smile. Thank you for yeah, the day again. Okay, one for you. And if I want 25,
I'm not stop that backward speaking nonsense. You need to prepare English. I beg your pardon. I beg 25 minutes. It's what? Okay, so that was once in the blood in you. And then we talk to the nice club. You say, well, no, it's running to my head. So it depends me from how we go in there. Yeah. No, the different environment and governments will direct people well. And by June, madam, as anyone can check you on our campus is considered your name, but you are not present. I must so, you have to treat a lady and you call yourself a Sigma elite. You take your bread and
Is it because you're putting on a coat and tie? Huh? You don't insult us. You noisy to play a banda. You think you're and of course, I am not to blame. Who made it was when you said you asked? Right. So you be forever. Not only your mind, your land, your soul, your body is forever. It is. Who are you guys running to us? Or the we are running to forever. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Not only your land has been colonized, your mind too has been colonized. The book. That's the magazine used to terrorizing innocent students. Well, only a pretend that it starts its own magazine as an alternative to the book and then the parents. It's not just a quick one. I call it the Eagle. The first edition out tomorrow Monday. That's good then. Then we can join you writing the articles for the subsequent editions. I plan to carpet this local colonialist. Only they are not just local colonialists. They are insurgents. Colonizers are terrorists to anywhere in the world. They are like their masters. Insurgents. Well, this is my name. Market are okay, but not even 20 months. Really, this wrong. Speaking about that box, like the Sigma. Well, I've been thinking of something. You know, we in the institution right now, we're the future of this desired nation. And we need to prepare for this leadership role. And it's not only this fight. The struggle for independence from this fight is on now. It's more important past. This our attainment just an egalitarian post-independent society. And if we do not want to have an every country in the future, as we just contact this now. Word. So, what do we do? Okay. I've been thinking about something. I told Ralph I'm not about it this morning. I have always been obsessed with the idea of leadership, something out of convention, a group that has been able through action, all the amazing that are setting the psyches of our friends, like the Semites, because my friend, in the next few years, British collegiate system, academic, we are looking around leaders, patriot, we are looking at 60 years. Nigerian youth intending to be white, all this will be a major see coming. Policy and ethnicity. That is everything. You are right, Wole. I mean, it's all going on with the student selection campaign. Yes, I was there with the campaign ground. They turned this campaign ground into center for ethnic diversity. Sorry about the rhetoric is now, but advancing on campus now. I'm afraid our future in this nation will be divided by tribalism. Now, let's talk about it.
Wole, I know you very well. You did not use the word gorilla or Ralph. He mentioned anything.
No, of course, he did not mention anything about gorilla, but he did mention something about us mutating into a more active organization.
Right.
And what? What is wrong about women? Are our mates not engaged in the physical violence and harmful against the white girls? Think of the Malcolm, think of the Agatha in South Africa. Amanda, away! Some of the men, I don't think as old as some of us. Yeah. But even if we are going to teach up arms against them, let us graduate first. I don't know anything about the colonialists. I think beyond them. My friends, disaster is that it's now. University government is not sufficient. It only breeds us as an opportunity and job now. This system that I see is not all the greatest task of rescuing the society. Some of us must be ready to sacrifice for that alternative reach.
And the gorilla force is to provide that alternative leadership.
No, I only need to realize we can adopt the tactics of action. And we don't necessarily have to be part. Right. You don't have to. Depends on what we do as a preventive measure. It is as to say, you prevent from afar the jutting branch that can poke your eye. One has a banker already. Let's hear it. I have just some ideas and some ideals. Some concepts that can serve as a basis of the prevention by now. Okay, just some random thoughts in the thought and action. Okay, it's the 3 parts. 3 parts. Are you writing another play of my lesson? Remember that text inclusion by government college. Of course, how can I forget the essay in which a photo boy declared that he was an atheist? How can I forget the ideas of an atheist? Okay. This one here is just some scribbling that I put down on a piece of paper. Okay, I finished my assignment early, so I decided to put some things down.
All right, guys. Now let's get one alone. So it's the next part.
No. It's a 999 parts. It's in 3 conditions. 3 parts. All right. From our guys who are interested. What is it? Present your thesis. All right. As I have stated earlier, just one concept that I apply to set up a basis for our. It is in 3 parts. The first part is what I call the 3 watchwords. The 3 watchwords. Order in orders. Order in orders. No friends, no foe. No friends, no foe. Absolutely no lagging. Absolutely no lagging. Second part, what I call 4 compass points. So the 4 compass points. Against one convention. Against one convention. Against my balance in my ethnicity. Against my balance in my ethnicity. For humanistic ideals. For humanistic ideals. For comradeship. For comradeship. For comradeship and human. Yeah, the third and last part. That I call the 7 God ablaze. The 7 God ablaze. Death before evil. Death before evil. All before self. All before self. Truth before cant. Truth before cant. Sense before slogan. Sense before slogan. Learn from belief. Learn from belief. Change your spaces. Change your spaces. Act over here. That's so I would say nothing we have to discuss. This one you said is already looking more than the ordinary body. Really, instead of working matthews, that was ready to combat the ills, militant against our atonement to the church and egalitarian Nigerian society. Yes, and I suggest that also the police proposal as contained in the 3 words, 4 compass points, 7 other blame. They will serve as a doctrine of their. Yes, but friends, I insist with fresh time. We can do that later. We have the whole world to do that. For now, let's organize ourselves to a more concrete, not just a group of mere friends who sit here and debate. We need to organize and have a robust line of action. Yes. And when we have provided us with a suitable material, we count our doctrine for the body in 3 watchwords. 4 compass points, 7 other flip, 3, 4, 7 queen, short.
So suggest that we drop our tribal names and adopt things.
Right. Our tribal names are not the back. True. Adopting names for the names.
Let's make it smaller.
Yes, that's right. You know, that probably together the Europe and America. Fatality. I prefer the idea of fatality. If we all prefer the idea of fatality, then the fatality will shall. Yes. What shall we call?
I think it should be a name from one of Nigeria's languages. I mean, to express our pride in our culture.
No, I can't agree with you. I think we need something tricultural, something counter-revolutionary.
What's wrong? Cultural Liberation Front. We already have another place. We have a four compass points, and we have the watchword. How about the runner? How about men of the compass? The watchdog.
We not appears to get so close. We need a name that's just like we are out of convention, out of the ordinary. But also, we cannot just be mere rebels. We need a name that people will take seriously. So that we can be seen as intellect.
Yeah. How about a try encounter some of people I mean, yes, Knights of the Golden Dawn. What about Knights of Culture? The Revolutionary Knights. Something modeled after the Knights of the Round Table.
See, people of fatality. The pirates, the pirates.
That's something but what do you think? Think about the connotation. I mean, pirates in Europe were known as brigands and pirates. There was zero.
We've been famous for we are anti-convention. So why don't we replace the I? Why? But why? We are anti-convention. I really. Speed. Why?
R-A-T-E-S. Pirates.
We are anti-convention speed. Fraternity. Gone fraternity.
Yes, we need to find the investor approach. All our agents for the you are right. We need a captain. We are building a ship about to set sail.
Right, mates. It's about to be a long and arduous journey. I promise you that. Okay, let's talk about. Let's talk. Mr. Pius, the psychology man. Come on, punish us with the ideas of more journey. Whose idea was the
When the idea was to you all, you didn't have an eye to see. Now we're talking about the need for a leader, the captain. You're mentioning Christ. A captain is somebody who will be ready to go down with the ship. Are you down here? The only person that is mad enough to do that is if you want it. All in favor of Wole as our captain, say our
right, friends. If we the pirates, and I be your captain, ye should call me. Ahoy! Ahoy!
It's started out as a critical, socially conscious group. Then we moved on. We're called pirates. The magnificent original seven called us that as successors. We are eternally grateful to them for the effort and successive generation of pirates through whom an enduring system has been built for the fraternity over the past 7 decades. They are an army of social guerrillas, an unarmed guerrilla group. Combat brutality and oppression. They play a major role in the termination of the most brutal dictatorship the nation has ever known. Be a heavy price, collectively and individually. One of the major weapons in the armory of the pirates are forms. The repertory of satiric songs would be certainly one of the richest in the whole world. Heretical language are called sing-sang. Sing-sang are pirate songs containing live bullets, satire, lagoons against conventions, as they are contained. The themes of these songs are as diverse as the behavior of humanity. Well, this is a fitting moment to sample. Corruption against government officials. Now we're going to a more the record of social political history of this nation. So come with me as we journey through the annals of history, where we come back of the military actors, celebrities, superstars, megastars. It's the thing. Are larger than life politicians, justices, all the people like that who have traversed the firmament of this nation in its lifetime. Could be many that they serve of the future of this.
Yes, yes, yes.
For 279 of 7th November 1979. The said draft money laundering, the corporate to be brought. And that's something
Yes, yes. Lord, with your permission, I have come.
I'm practicing and present because your worship.
Yes. I have come with an application, my Lord. presented an application before its launch. I regret to inform the court that my client is not enjoying the best of health. I'm joking.
The prosecution opposes any further examination. We have solid evidence refuting the claims of the defendants regarding the state of health of the accused. Your Lordship may wish to take a look at the There are photos, my lord. Photos that prove unambiguously that the accused is in fact in the state of health. Photos don't lie. Yes. Yes. Ah. Oh, yes. But the video, my lord. Yes. We have a video. Glorious stuff. Yeah. Read that. Wow. With your permission, my lord, we anticipated the defense law and we came prepared. If I may, your lordship. Yes. Thank you, my lord. I was about to state that that video was shot from an hour ago and emailed to I know. The decision of this honorable court at the last hearing 7 months ago, the 14th of John May. If I may remind the honorable court, the 14th of John May. That thought his case was definitive and binding. Bail was granted the travel to attend to his health. Security agents was ordered to return as possible. Condition was imposed that he presented himself here today in this very court. Not the Spanish Rebellion. Yes. My lord, bail was not granted the accused. Not to travel or to vacation on the Rebellion, but to attend to his health. That's exactly what he is doing. Receiving urgent attention. When it comes for our claim, health is wealth, meaning that wealth is health. It is an equal in this country, perhaps. Since my learned colleague is on another planet, but the rest of us here, we have no other country than this one. Yes, my lord. Yes. Yes. This is not the political campaign. The subject is not I live the country, do or die. They're just in this sport on the definition. She focused on that one. Yes. Like beauty, my lord. I yes. My lord. Yeah. Even a blind beholder can see that The man is that people is anything but sick.
That's so that you can see what the blind man can see. So that you can see what the doctor saw. And I am so certain what the beggar saw. Look.
My Lord. My Lord. My Lord. No. My Lord, the defense is attempting to bamboozle this court. The man is that people is not sick.
Something just occurred to me, Your Lordship. Yes, we do not really know. How can we be so sure? How are we so certain? There is one question we have overlooked, my Lord. We do not know. That's again. If we knew, then how do we know that that was shot when the prosecution claims it was? How can the court guarantee that that video was shot when it was shot? That propels the idea of targeting when and where. How can we be so certain that that video was not shot 3, 5, 7, 11 years ago, before this monstrous, this ridiculous charges was concocted against my client? I put it to this court that those videos are fake. Because we are separate evidence. Legal check for my motive. Being the colleague here has adopted a proceeding that is a typical dispensation of justice. I object, my lord. I strenuously object. I take strong exception to that statement. Object all the world. Yes. Object all. My lord. My lord. Yes. This is political. I don't know where all of this is coming from. Never mind where I'm going. That place where he is headed towards. Manipulation. They have tampered with the evidence. Wild allegations. We received this video 2 days after it was shot. It was transmitted. And my lord, and the defense is pointing at a common enemy, the police. How do we say that? They are known to be innocent men. Been in the wrong profession. But I think he ought to look in the mirror. He fancies himself a writer. He has treated this court with nothing less than bombastic pronouncements. I think he wants to compete with that man. You know, the best. I think he should actually be one of them start writing tactical fiction. God forbid that thing. That man has moved dictionaries that Nigerian and British law reports combined. My lord,
This is not a comedy club. This is not a full-time club. If my learned colleague was charged at the time. Yes. Yes. The Irish, my lord. Yes. They always irate also in the society. That's why they call themselves the Irish. Abusing the system, rubbishing society. See, my lord, they were here earlier carrying placards. I'm sure they're still around, walking around, taking notes. You know them. Oh, well, they always carry placards, my lord. You see, the defense strategy is beginning to look like the Irish. I can't even blame the police. I mean, recently they attacked the legislature over the budget. And one can see that they have the regular of the judicial. In why attack or invade the court and placards. I must caution my learned colleague that the first strategy is to direct.
I object strongly. I object in class as being part of this communists.
What communists? The Irish are merely religious fundamentalists, more like Boko Haram. Two sides of the coin. One treasure folks, one brothers. The other bronze folks. So you see, they have a common attitude towards folks. That is what we refer to.
That. Now I think we both have a common ground. Prosecution, my lord, will have to get an expert to authenticate those videos and the photos. We intend to make sure that happens. So, what do you say, my little friend? McDonald's?
All right. Let's get into something to say. If it's I know. Yes. My lord, we are waiting on verdict and the possibility of medical reports.
My lord, I think prosecution must have so many pictures and so many other videos for judicial weighing up.
Yeah. My lord, we are not being hard out on this side. We simply want a speedy termination of the case. But we understand the defense. Sometimes the will of justice finds solid.
And eventually, my lord,
Yes.
we are waiting for your decision.
Yes. In that case, my lord, no further objection. Yeah.
Yeah, shall we take a date?
Yes. Yes.
November 1979. The third person organic department. After today, I present the court, Your Lordship.
Yes.
My lord,
Yes.
the defense is in full compliance and ready to proceed.
Yes. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Yes, George.
I'll do better. I'll do better.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you agree with me, it's been a very long evening, also interesting. So happily come to the end of the program. But before we do that, I would like us to give a round of applause to the captain. I also want to congratulate members of the Paris Confraternity on their 70th anniversary. We pray that, like somebody said, in the next 10 years, when they are doing their 80th, I'll be here to celebrate with them. Congratulations to the Paris. A round of applause for you. I would now have to invite the Secretary of the Association to give a vote of thanks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. I think that we need to see the cast and the crowd here, please. That was a fantastic display. We need to give them a rousing information while it's about right here. And you guys all come out, please. Fantastic work. Fantastic work. Ladies and gentlemen, don't make it louder, please. Thank you very much. This cast and this crew took us through 70 years of the history of the Paris Confraternity, our struggles, our starting points, and where we are today. I think you did a fantastic depiction of that history. Thank you very much. Please think about me. Can we take all their names? I guess not. Can we? We should, right? We should. You deserve that, right? Just your names, please.
Makiele Babasumi.
Adeto Emmanuel.
Yeah.
Prince Page Adama. Aditya Progress.
Asai Amanda.
Missy George. Odisi Adebayo. Iyanu Wajibi. Martino Nawojenshi. Martin Adebayo. Will be my name. Alonso Victor.
Fantastic work. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I hope that
when we are doing our 80th, we will also be here. Can we have the director, please? Our own Dr. Funko. Fantastic work. Fantastic work. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you so much. Director, do you want to say a word or two? Please do, by all means.
There can't be any performance without its audience. And so what I need to say is to appreciate the patience, the concentration, and the appreciation of what we've been able to put together. Thank you very much, all of you, for being here. Yeah, the cast and crew, the guys who work with me, they actually work under very, very strict deadline. You know, and I was actually shocked that they were able to. Yes. Yeah. So thank you, all of you. Some of them are my students, and some are professional artists. So it's a fusion of both tradition. Of course, also in the right tradition of Wole Soyinka's Gorilla Theatre Spirit. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You told a very profound story. Thank you so much. Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have indeed come to the end of not just this event, but also the end of one whole year of commemorative activities we have been having for the last 1 year, commemorating the 70th anniversary of the Paris Confraternity National Association of Sea Dogs. We felt that today was a profound opportunity to tell our own story in our own words, but using those fantastic cast and crew to tell that story. Before we finally say goodbye, please do permit me to first and foremost profoundly thank Professor Wole Soyinka, who not only spoke to us in that interactive session, but stayed online all through up till now. Thank you so much, Professor Soyinka. A round of applause for him, please. Permit me to also thank very specially the captain of the Paris Confraternity, who is in our midst today. And does he want to say a word? He should say a word, right? He should say a word. He is the Nance Capone. Mr. Abiola. He deserves a louder round of applause, please. All students. Everyone, I just want to, on the back of what has just been mentioned, thank Professor Wole Soyinka immensely for sparing the time to be with us today. And I also like to thank all of our guests here today for also coming to see what we have done over these 70 years as an organization. We are continuing the ideology that has been put forth by Professor Wole Soyinka and the other six that founded this organization, and will continue to do so for the next decades. That's what we are. That's who we are. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, I'm permitting also to thank members of the Executive Council of the Paris Confraternity. A lot of them are in this hall. They have been in various committees trying to put these commemorative activities together. Some are in this hall, some are outside the country in various places. I think it deserves a round of applause, please. And thank all the organs of leadership of the Paris Confraternity. We have what we call Ox Capones, people who have led this organization before, and they made out time to be in this room and sit through this performance. It deserves also a round of applause. Members of the Paris Confraternity who came from all over the country and all over the world, indeed. Through our 66 decks scattered all over the world, they made their way here to make this occasion grand. It deserves a round of applause. But indeed, the bigger and louder round of applause belongs to you, ladies and gentlemen. That's all you have to do on a Saturday evening to come join us here to do through 70 years of the Paris Confraternity. You are the true heroes of tonight. Thank you very much. Is that the bigger round of applause? Thank you so much for finding time to come. And here is wishing you journey mercies back to your various destinations. Journey mercies back to your various destinations. My name is Ken Henshaw. I'm an scribe. Thank you.